Hello, and welcome to the Community IT Innovators Technology Topics Podcast, where we discuss nonprofit technology, cybersecurity, tech project implementation, strategic planning, and nonprofit IT careers. Find us at communityit.com.
Welcome to the Community IT Innovators Podcast. My name is Carolyn Woodard, and I am the Outreach Director for Community IT. And I'm very excited to be here today with my friend Carole Melvin from Your Part-Time Controller. And Carole, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
Thank you so much, Carolyn. And I'm equally excited to be here talking with you. I'm Carole Melvin from Your Part-Time Controller, or YPTC, as it is known. YPTC is a financial and accounting services organization. We serve nonprofits. That's all we do. We work with nonprofits to make stronger financial management teams. We have over 1,800 clients across the country in now 11 different physical markets, but we're serving nonprofit clients all across the country, everywhere, because we're delivering our services remotely as well as in person. I've been with YPTC for a little over 5 years. Currently, I'm the regional director for the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast division. And I serve nonprofit clients as well. So happy to be here.
I wanted to follow up with you because we did a webinar together maybe a couple of years ago about financial fraud at nonprofits. And I know that there have been some changes, like there's some new tools, there's AI, of course, everyone's talking about. So I wanted to connect back with you and ask, at your clients and the clients in the regions that you supervise, can you share with us, like, are there new scams that people are seeing and hopefully not falling for, but maybe falling for, that you're seeing? What are the new things that are happening in terms of financial fraud?
Yeah, well, financial fraud, I mean, there's no getting around it, right? We know that it's increasing every year. There's always new kinds of fraud, and nonprofits are susceptible to fraud, just like other organizations. Sometimes there's a misconception that nonprofits are doing good in the world, and who is going to take advantage and perpetrate fraudulent activity on nonprofits. But of course they do, and they're particularly vulnerable because often nonprofits will not have perhaps not have as robust as internal controls because they have a lean staff. So they are susceptible, and we are talking about this every day because controllers, they not only have to be responsible for the accounting and finance, but being vigilant and understanding the looming threat of cyber fraud has become part of our job every day. So some of the things that we are seeing, a lot of it is related to the accounts payable function in our clients. So we're definitely seeing where a fraudster will compromise the email, the official business email, often the AP email, and then use that email to move funds. That's something that has happened many times, unfortunately. We're also seeing the vendor impersonation. We talked about a couple of these cases where a fraudster will pose as a legitimate vendor because they are aware that the nonprofit is working perhaps with that vendor, and they will send fake invoices, create fake email addresses, and really mimic that real vendor's website and the way that they look, and they'll trick the nonprofit organizations into transferring funds into that account. We definitely see more and more of that. It's not as uncommon as it used to be. And then, we just saw this recently again, where the bad actor hijacks and actually takes control of the email, often forwarding the email to their own email, and really just intercepting and acting. And you think you're communicating with your real vendor, but of course you're actually communicating with the fraudster. And we've seen, that has been very successful for the fraudster in sending funds. So those are, some of the things that we typically see. And I know I heard you just mention this in your last podcast about one of the newest frauds that we're seeing is the in-person event phishing, where they get you to click on a link and sign in, and then you're compromising your information as well. And there's we've even seen where people have gone to the event there, and there is no event.
There is no event. Yeah.
But they've, in that email, you've given them, the sign-in information because you're logging in, and then your account is compromised.
Yeah, I think that's what we saw, is that it's funny because in some ways it's maybe we're a victim a little bit of our success in training people to be very suspicious in emails, for phishing emails that have a link, right? And you're not supposed to click on a link. And then also a lot of our programs, like automatic programs, will keep those emails out of your inbox, so you won't even see them. But that's what we saw, is that a way around that is a document. So in the case that we saw, the person at the nonprofit, it also is social engineering, right? It's more of a long con, or like a more in-depth scam. So they're kind of trying to prey on your emotions. And this email was a person had been invited, I think it was like a senator's aide or something, on a committee that they wanted to talk about this nonprofit's expertise in a policy area. And so they were inviting this person to a meeting at a restaurant, and attached in the email, they had a document that was the itinerary of how this aide from the senator was going to meet with the person for lunch. And so the link to make the appointment it was in the document, the itinerary. So it was in a Word document that the person opened. And then that link was a fraudulent link, or it was a link to the scammers. But then to make the calendar event, she entered her credentials, right? So that was what they were trying to get, is the ability to use those credentials. And then, yeah, she showed up at the meeting, and there wasn't a reservation. The front desk was like, "We've never heard of this. This is not happening." And that, was a couple of days later as well. So it was like the fraudsters had that access for a couple of days at that point. It was really insidious.
Yes. And it's, the psychology of these wire fraud. I mean, it's really quite sophisticated. And I think that's why nonprofits, and I would say anyone dealing with financial management in general, are even more susceptible, because we're so wired, pun intended, to be fast at answering these urgent requests, and we want to make sure that we're taking care of our clients, of our chief executives, of our constituents. Folks who are working in a nonprofit are thinking, if I don't respond to this urgent email, then someone is not going to maybe get the services that they need. So it's, that urgency that they create, the fraudsters in these emails, it's easy to understand why you would sort of be, you could fall for that, especially if you're, in a high stress, high pressure fast-paced environment, your defenses might be down. And
And
it's
also when they're giving you like little pieces that check out, right? The email seems to be from the person it's supposed to be from, and sometimes it is from that person because that person's compromised and the fraudsters are in their system sending out emails actually from their server. So it's a real email. It's just they're not sending it. The fraudster is hacked into their system.
right. And so it seems plausible. This seems like, oh, this is something that I need to take care of. Sometimes it tricks your brain, right, into thinking, rationalizing it. Oh yeah, okay, maybe they are asking me for this urgent, payment to wire this payment because we have this contract coming up. And so you sort of fill in the missing gaps of, yes, this makes sense. And that's why it's so easy to fall for that.
I think we're also seeing, and I don't know if you've been seeing this too, that I think with the rise of AI, it has given the fraudsters more tools at their disposal, and they can pull information about your staff from different areas of the internet. So we had one attack where it was the person's personal Facebook that the fraudsters messaged through about something having to do with her position at the nonprofit. I think she was a CFO. So they knew that Facebook account was the same person as on the org chart, at the nonprofit on their website. And they were able to be very convincing in that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard because, you want to be, nonprofits that are serving the community, they need to communicate with the community. So they're giving, providing information about what their services are, what they're doing, where they're doing it. But yet you are, you're sometimes setting yourself up for that fraud because you have all that information. I know we're seeing a lot of our clients are taking off, email addresses off the website and, and being really careful with the information they are sharing.
Yeah. With that in mind, I want to pivot a little bit. We've talked about all the ways they can get you. Do you have some advice on the ways that you can prevent these types of attacks? And I know some of them are like analog, basically, like not necessarily just having sophisticated IT tools that help keep your inbox as safe as possible and keep spam and unwanted emails and phishing emails out of your inbox so you don't even see them. But are there some other tips and tricks that you can take to stay safer?
Yeah, I think just, starting with fraud awareness in general and making sure that, there is, you know, a zero tolerance for risk if that's possible, and making sure that the tone at the top, um, is clear, that everyone knows that this is important. So because sometimes, talking about the psychology, you know, someone might be not wanting to ask someone to verify, right? But if you have that tone at that top, at the understanding that this is how we're going to operate, we are going to trust but verify. Then I think that helps. If the culture is trust but verify, then people will be inclined to take those additional steps. So I think, that's sort of first and foremost. And of course, having the fraud awareness training, having regular trainings, these little mini trainings, gone are the days where we do an annual training, right? It's these frequent small trainings where you're keeping it top of mind for people, and they will hopefully pause before they click on that link because this is something that is being talked about and everyone really understands. In addition to developing, that tolerance, the tone at the top, the fraud awareness training, then all of the internal software applications that you can use. We're also looking at just when you do get that urgent request, taking time to confirm that it is a real vendor. I mean, this is the simplest and most effective way is to pick up the phone and call, and don't use the phone number that is in the email that is provided. Use a phone number that you know to be correct. And that's really the easiest way, is that verbal verification via phone. This saves prevents a lot of loss from happening. We also were talking about, setting up some sort of advanced verification protocols, having, a certain code or password, making sure that there's also just really good internal controls about what is the dollar amount threshold that's going to require even more stringent confirmation. And that's your best line of defense, really, against those fraud attacks. And like I said, really just pausing before you click on anything, change bank accounts. All of that is just making people aware to sort of fight that sense of urgency and just and verify.
No, that all makes sense. I think also one thing we talk a lot about with our cybersecurity training is encouraging that culture of and training around what are your next steps. Like, it's clearly the reason we get all of these emails and these phishing links and all of people go to these efforts to trick us is because it works a lot. There shouldn't be a real stigma around having clicked on the wrong thing, but everyone needs to know, if you think you just did that, who do you tell next, and how quickly you need to tell someone that you clicked on the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's so true. Right. I mean, yes, it does happen. And the key is knowing immediately, oh no, I clicked on that, and having that plan. You need to immediately drop everything and call your IT provider, because often they do have time to intercept, because a lot of times these bad actors, they're doing, a wide swath of these, and then they're coming back later to see, what the hits are. So sometimes if you do, if you know that you did something that maybe you shouldn't have, even if you're not sure, you call your IT person, have them, jump on and see if there's been any compromise, and they can often address it right then and there.
Yeah, we have a staff person who says he'd rather have 99 false positives to catch that one that really was a hack. So trying to encourage that internal culture too, of if you're not sure, tell someone, turn it in. If it turns out to be nothing, like, fine, that's great. You did the right thing. Like, don't be worried about, oh, I'm going to bother them, or I've already turned in 2 today, so maybe I'll just not do this one. It's really important for your IT staff, and your supervisor, if that's who you need to talk to about it too, to know what's going on. And I think in general, like I said, they'd rather have 99 that were okay, and instead of having the one that wasn't okay get through.
Yeah, absolutely. That gets back to the culture, because you could be you could be embarrassed. I can't believe that I did that. I know better, and you feel awful, but it could be worse. It could get worse. So you have to immediately own up to clicking on that or doing whatever it is, and and chances are you do have time if you address it immediately. I think another just very simple prevention technique that we recommend for all our clients is just reviewing your bank activity every single day. looking at that feed to make sure that, all the transfers, all the, electric, EFTs and ACHs and all the transfers, wire transfers, particular withdrawals, all of those are what you expected. And it's a very simple, easy way. We hear all the time that that's a great way to catch things before it's too late, when it's in that pending. So you should, someone should be tasked with doing that every single day.
That makes so much sense. All right. So I have one last question for you. Is there, we've talked about a lot of the types of scams that we're seeing, and you've given us lots of great tips. Is there one thing that you would say to everyone? Like, if you can't do anything else, do this one thing. What would that advice be?
Oh, that's a good question. Having that professional skepticism, I would say. We always want to, think the best of everyone, but, knowing that it does happen every day, it can happen. I'm just understanding it could happen to us, it could happen to all of us. I think is important to understand that we need to have good internal controls. You need to be reviewing those. You need to have lots of training. It needs to be top of mind, really.
Those are all great, great suggestions. And thank you so much for sharing your experience and expertise in this area and the things that you're seeing with us. I just really appreciate your time today, Carole. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is an important topic, and it's great to have another partner to work with serving our nonprofit clients.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Community IT does these free webinars and podcasts for our community, and we love sharing our knowledge and experience. If you have more questions or are having trouble with your IT at your nonprofit, please get in touch with us on our website, www.communityit.com, so we can start a conversation or schedule an assessment. Downloading any of our free resources there will get you signed up for our webinar reminders, and you can attend our next webinar in real time and ask our experts your own questions. If you love podcasts, please subscribe and leave us a rating to help others find this leadership resource for nonprofits.